For much of the last month, the Kavanaugh confirmation process has consumed the nation. And while all eyes have been glued to the Senate and Supreme Court, it seems we may have missed one or two other stories coming out of Washington. Nothing major, really. Just a chilling climate change report, the decision to pull green cards from same-sex partners of foreign diplomats, and the results of a year-long investigation into the Trump family finances, which details, quote, dubious tax schemes during the 1990s, including instances of outright fraud. Now, you'd be forgiven if you're just hearing about this for the first time. As Politico writer Michael Grunwald put it on Twitter, the New York Times proved the president's money is stolen from you, and it was almost as big a story as people being mean to Alan Dershowitz on Martha's Vineyard. Almost. Only in Trump world could something as big as a multi-hundred-million-dollar tax fraud report get lost in the news cycle, a report that flies directly in the face of this oft-repeated tale.
My father gave me a small loan of $1 million, and I had to pay him back, and I had to pay him back with interest.
Well, as it turns out, Trump got a little more than $1 million. In fact, the Times reports the president was given or inherited at least $400 million from his father, Fred Trump, in today's dollars. And for most of it, Trump did not have to pay his father back.
A lot of the people we talked to knew Fred Trump and knew that that was just a bald-faced lie.
A bold-faced lie, Times reporter Suzanne Craig told CNN's Brian Stelter in one of the very few interviews covering this story. The Times findings also detail the potentially illegal methods the Trump family used to avoid millions of dollars in taxes, including undervaluing the properties in Fred Trump's Brooklyn apartment building empire by as much as 90% or $600 million. And by creating an intermediary company to funnel millions to Donald Trump and his siblings, disguised as profits which would not be taxed. Tactics many tax experts would call simply fraud, which the state of New York is now investigating. And not only did the future president of the United States screw taxpayers out of millions, he tried to screw his own family, too. And according to the Times, Trump tried to have his father's will rewritten when his health was declining, his father's, to give himself total control over his father's affairs. And yet in the midst of the Kavanaugh coverage, the story fell under the radar.
It's the news business, and sometimes something huge happens the morning you publish, and then it gets overshadowed.
No kidding. When it comes to breaking news in the Trump administration, it's clear we cannot walk and chew gum at the same time. But with stories as important as that one, we at least ought to try. What do you think? Email us, tweet us, share your thoughts.